Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video on this Monday night. Hope you guys all enjoyed your weekends. I had a lovely Saturday out in the sun. Got the new tune top. Did post it over on my Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go check it out. When I'm not posting on here, I'm normally posting over there. So yeah, that's my advertisement for myself today. Go check out my Instagram. And yes, we are back in the room with no wallpaper. I am working on that. To lash it down out there. It's the only room I'm getting any light in. To come on and jump and talk to you guys about the breaking news with regard to Newcastle's top target this summer window, Marc Guehi. That's right, the player that Anthony Gordon himself said that he would love if he would join Newcastle United. Was reported Thursday, Friday and last week, reported that Newcastle were the first team in advanced negotiations with Crystal Palace. It was actually reported over the weekend that Guehi himself was up for the move. Well, as of this evening, Luke Edwards in the Telegraph, as well as Fabrizio Romano, coming out and posting that Newcastle are well into negotiations now with Marc Guehi in the hope of signing him from Crystal Palace this summer window. Going to get into all of that in this video today, as well as the fact that Osula, the 10 plus 5 million striker from Sheffield United it was reported that he was going to be in Newcastle a couple of days ago for a medical. It was reported again today that he was going to be in Newcastle for a medical. And I know what the Newcastle fans are like. And if he had have walked anywhere near St James's Park, he would have been snapped by now. So it would appear that maybe he's not here just yet. Or if he has, they've done a really good job of keeping it under the radar. But it's thought that the Osula one is going to go through very, very soon. We've discussed this a fair bit, so won't take over too much old ground. But the idea that Callum Wilson's actually injured now is going to probably miss the start of the season. So even if we wanted to sell him, it would be unlikely. And if we were going to sell him, would we get loads for him anyway? And I think the idea of having Isak as the number one, Callum Wilson as when fully fit, is a perfect stand-in. But the problem is he's not always fit. So the idea of bringing in a third choice striker in the likes of the Sheffield United player Osula, unproven, totally. Really, he didn't think he scored any goals in the Premier League last season. Scored a couple of cup goals, went on loan to Derby, and by all means, I think and tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the impression that I'm kind of getting from the Sheffield United side of things is that he's one of their best prospects that they have currently, but would also be mad to turn down the money. Chris Wilder himself actually said that he basically lost the fight, and it was and that he was, well, didn't say he was on his way, but I think he basically said with regard to Osula, it was kind of not up to him, and he was left out of their most recent squad in a friendly they had this weekend. So look, we give it time. I think one of the biggest things possibly for me, and I think part of the reaction was that nothing's really happened, up till now. We've obviously let a few players go. The PSR deadline's become a new thing, which I think is possibly going to be a thing every year now, which is a slightly scary, unless rules are changed, which could well be. So we'll wait and hear on that. But generally speaking, where are the players coming in? Japan, it's been good. Well, we won a game over in Japan and we lost a game in Japan. Bruno was actually captain for the second game, and we were wearing our new third kit as well. That wasn't the luckiest kit for us last season. I hope it's not going to be the same this season, especially with how nice it is. But players are on the way back from Japan. Sella Cup this weekend. Premier League starts 2 weeks' time. And we got to get the ball moving on some of these transfers. And big news tonight that Marc Guehi is moving ever closer to joining Newcastle United. Obviously, when the news broke a couple of days ago, the fee, you have to say, is pretty big, £60 million. So let me know your thoughts on that one down below. It was actually reported that Newcastle were the first team to go in for Marc Guehi, which you could say is potentially opportunity for other teams to be interested, and that's not a bad thing. You know, Newcastle are a team who are going to aspire to be in the Champions League next season, aspire to have a very good season, to hopefully go and do well in the Cups this season. You know, if anything, it would be strange if other teams weren't interested. Now, obviously, the joke is that Chelsea just wants every player that we want, etc., etc., but I think we're just going to generally find that from now, and it was reported that Liverpool, as well as a few others, could well have been interested. Reports out today were actually saying that Liverpool weren't interested, or at least had stalled their interest because of the price tag. The mentioned price tag was around 60 million. I think it still remains that. Some reports were actually saying that it could be Crystal Palace would want north of 65 million. And look, this guy's a very good player. As I mentioned at the start of this video, Anthony Gordon has even spoke publicly on his hope for him to join some time ago at the Euros. I think Guehi was a standout player at the Euros. And for Newcastle, who, look, scored more goals than we've ever scored last season, but let too many in. You know, so we can talk all night about wanting a new striker in terms of Osula, and we will talk about the right winger a second in this video. But if we can have, you know, look at a back four of Hall, Livramento, Botman, Guehi. I mean, it doesn't sound that too bad to me. And that's no disrespect to Byrne, Shaw. I think that back four screams like potential. I think in a couple of years' time, with likes of a Hall and Livramento just getting that little bit more time, Botman, if he can get back to his best from the injury with a Guehi, that is an awesome back four. With Pope and goal, awesome back five. However, it's not always that easy, and as I mentioned, I would not be surprised if Crystal Palace continue to hold out for as much money as possible. I think it was Mark Douglas in The Eye did an article today where he actually spoke about the fact that it is going to be a high fee for Guehi if he were to go, but also the fact that Newcastle are kind of, and it makes sense, you know, Guehi's the big name, he's the one that's captured a lot of traction, a lot of interest from reports online right now, but it's not to say that Newcastle haven't got all of their eggs in one basket, and it has been frustrating that things have seemed quite quiet at Newcastle, and then with not much time to go till the start of the season, it's like, what's going on? Where's stuff coming out? But it's not to say that all the eggs are in the Guehi basket. I think it's possible that Newcastle are in multiple conversations with multiple defenders. You know, it's not. I think Newcastle were definitely in for Chow from AC Milan. Eddie Howe pretty much didn't admit as much, if you know what I mean. He was very reluctant to comment on that. And he's worth 30 million. That's half the price. I think with back to the Osula one, that was frustrating because we hadn't really been linked with any big names. I think now that Guehi is kind of grabbing the headlines, I'm thinking, right, Guehi centre back, a good right winger, Osula third choice striker. If the window ended in that way, I think we'd be on a real winner there. Having said that, I don't know how much money we actually do have to spend this window. And when Fabian Shaw is available right now at centre back, I will be disappointed if we did spend too much on centre back and then we were left with Murphy again this season. So look, I'm not balancing the books, but it's fair to say that if you want the players, you have to pay for them. Is 65 million for Guehi too much, or is it right? It's hard to say. If he comes in and is basically short, we scored as many goals as we did last season, but concede half the number of goals this time because Pope stays fit, Guehi comes in, Botman comes back, Trippier doesn't have a nightmare or leaves or whatever happens with him, maybe we are in the top four shout. So yes, I don't balance the books. Do Newcastle have 120 million to spend this summer? Because if we spend 60 on Guehi, that's another 60 on a right winger. Or is Newcastle working on something in the background? But the reports this evening are that Newcastle are actually in negotiations with Guehi. So it isn't just that Newcastle have created conversations with Palace themselves. The reports are now that Newcastle themselves are actually in conversation with Guehi over the move, and is effectively on the verge of joining Newcastle United, which is extremely exciting. You let me know your thoughts down in the comments below with regard to Guehi. The 65 million mark. I mean, in terms of the player, like, I'm not even going to spend time discussing really as to whether I think he's good. I think he would definitely fit into that back four that I've mentioned very quickly and very easily. I think alongside a Botman, or even in the meantime, with Byrne or Kelly, it's definitely, it's harsh on Shaw, but I think in the long term is a real big player for us. But we will have to wait and see. Thoughts down below on the Guehi move, 65 million. Is that going to scupper what we may need in a right wing? I know Murphy scored a few goals this pre-season, but I want more than that. And has your opinion changed slightly on a third choice striker now that you can see that it isn't just, a young lad with nothing much else going on? The Newcastle are starting to get a bit of pace with what's coming in next. Thanks for watching, guys. Thoughts, comments down below. As I mentioned, subscribe if you haven't already. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night, and I'll catch you later.